Saudi's private investment fund recently bought EA. What does that mean for you? But first, ano ba talaga binili? EA was a publicly traded company, which means you could buy some of its shares on a stock exchange. Public companies have several advantages, chief among them na it's easier for them to borrow money and the interest cost of that borrowing is much lower. And also, prestige. Your company is perceived as valuable and influential if it's publicly traded.
Sawa ka na ba sa unactivated Windows mo? Well, lucky you! Pinakabago mula sa cdkeyoffer.com. Windows 10 and Windows 11 activation codes. Legit, safe, at pinakamura. Madali lang umorder.
Hanapin ang Windows version na gusto mo. Piliin ang preferred payment method. Wala pang 5 minutes, nag-CDK ka na para sa Windows mo.
Marami na kaming natulungan.
Dati, sudden depressed ako. But now, I found the love of my life.
Dati, aimless and walang purpose ang life ko. But now, I'm a world-class Zumba instructor.
So, web developer ako and content creator for a YouTube channel. And ngayon, ganun pa rin ako pero activated na yung Windows ko. Kaya kung naghahanap ka ng legit, mura, at original software,
Check out cdkeyoffer.com.
Check out cdkeyoffer.com.
check out cdkeyoffer.com.
Of course, there are also downsides to being a public company, and important among those is that company management is always trying to appease shareholders, which usually means prioritizing short-term profit over anything else. Let's say bumili ka ng PLDT, one of our publicly traded companies here in the Philippines, at 1,500 pesos per share. If PLDT management says we will spend a lot of money this year on new equipment, faster cell towers, etc., basically capex, that might be a good idea in the long term. But for the short term, the stock price might go down since all of that money earmarked for improvements means there's less money for stockholder dividends, or it might mean having to borrow money, which in turn means interest payments, which will cut into profit. So long-term value for a company is usually opposed to the short-term wishes of shareholders who just want profit now so that the value of their shares will go up now. And if you're the management of the company, you usually listen to shareholders because if enough of them get together, they could get you, the management, fired. So there are pros and cons to either approach. Depende sa circumstances of the company, whether it's better for it to be privately held or publicly traded. Back to EA, it was publicly traded. The Saudi Public Investment Fund will take it private, meaning it bought up all of the available public shares and the stock will no longer be traded on a stock exchange. Buying EA makes sense for the Saudis. One, it's diversification away from their main moneymaker, oil. Over the years, they've been very keen to start making money outside of the petrochemical space, so this is a big step for that goal. Two, it's an expansion of their soft power. Saudi isn't known for anything culturally distinctive. Apologies if you're from Saudi and watching this, but so this is a big ticket admission into that conversation. They pick up a whole bunch of intellectual properties which reach a very wide audience and which can be adapted into other media such as films, TV shows, books, etc. The de facto ruler of Saudi, MBS, is supposedly a big FIFA fan, so he is a gamer. Buying EA aligns with his personal interests as well. But is the purchase good for gamers? As mentioned earlier, it's easier for private companies to plan and spend for long-term value. So hopefully, this is what EA will do. Longer development cycles, less crunch time, more emphasis on quality. All of this is theoretically possible or more likely to happen in a privately held company. The Saudis have lots and lots and lots of money. They can afford to take riskier bets on games with new IPs in unconventional genres or different gameplay mechanics. That's a possible good. The possible bad boils down to two things. One, the Saudis might use EA as a way to pretty up the country's image, claiming that superficially they're more open and progressive now, when actually in truth that reform is just skin deep. Just around 2 months or so ago, we saw an example of this in the big comedy festival where Saudi paid for big ticket names to come over to the country to show that, yun nga, they're more open and progressive now. Kuno. 2, EA Games at take on a harder, less open to contrary ideas edge. The version of Islam practiced in Saudi is a lot more hardline than, say, the version practiced in Indonesia. Saudi has also produced extreme zealots before. The mastermind of 9/11, Osama bin Laden, was Saudi. The guys who hijacked the planes were Saudi. Pagkatapos ng 9/11, every time I would get randomly selected for additional security checks while traveling at American airports, inisip ko sa sarili ko, bakit ako yung pinagtritripan ninyo? Hindi Pilipino yung mga umatake sa inyo. EA is not only a developer of games, but more importantly, it's a publisher. So many other studios rely on EA to promote their games, distribute their games, make their games successful. With so much relying on EA, it's not a stretch for a developer to quietly toe the line and accept whatever request EA makes. To be fair, the above is just speculation, and there are other national players in the video game industry which have not used their influence for propaganda. For example, Tencent, while not directly owned by the Chinese government, is very much subject to any rules set by the Chinese government. So that includes very popular games like Valorant and League of Legends, and those games have thrived. They haven't been used for overt propaganda purposes. Like, wala namang 9-dash line sa map ng LOL. I played a lot of EA-published games over the years. If you're a gamer, they're pretty much inescapable. I'm pretty sure the Battlefields, the Star Wars, the Mass Effects, the big mega franchises will continue pretty much unchanged. Although I wouldn't be surprised if a Yemen map makes it into the next Battlefield. One of my favorite games of all time happened to be published by EA. Life is Strange was a small title, really a throwback type of adventure game.
Like you're a young kid again, making friends, and your biggest problems are your social life and not your bank account. Good times, good times.
It's these kind of indie vibe games which I fear the new owners will feel compelled to change or outright stop publishing altogether. Certainly when EA was a publicly traded American company, its games also carried with it certain values and propaganda. Previously though, you knew what kind of propaganda to expect when you booted up a game. With the new owners, we'll have to see how they choose to play with their new toy. Thanks for watching.